Welcome back to Space Invaders TV. I'm your host, Rashawn, aka Looker. Welcome back to all y'all. Peace and blessings be with everybody. Today is New Year's Eve, December the 31st. We end in 2021, and we're going to be going into 2022. And I just hope that whatever your plans is for the new year, I wish you nothing but the best with him. And we just gonna do a year end wrap up of 2021 because, as you see in the title, we're gonna talk about Jocelyn Maxwell. We're gonna talk about her, but first we're gonna get to this year end wrap up. And there's been so much that has happened this year, and this year end wrap up is courtesy of the New York Post. They had 50 different national issues that took place, and they just compiled it all together. I only grabbed about 20 of them to do the year-end wrap-up. But you can also go to the New York Post website yourself, and you can see the total, 50. Because there's so much that has happened that throughout the year, 12 months, outside of your own personal life, you forget. Because so many things were happening back to back, from mass shooters, active shooters, and side of businesses and schools. Like, okay, so we're gonna go in and we're gonna start off. I want to talk about beginning of 2021. Okay, we were steady dealing with the COVID and everything like that, and on top of that, we had a president that, my personal opinion, it may not be yours. My personal opinion just added to the fuel. He was the fuel to the fire that was already burning. And it was to me personally, it was causing more stress with having that president in the seat. So we began the year still dealing with the COVID. It was at its height. And getting rid of one president and getting a new president coming in, and the mixed feelings we all had about that. So, and then we had issues with, if y'all remember the Spaceship X, it exploded, just like going, and Boca Chaca, Texas, it blew up. It just blew up as it was at liftoff. It blew up. So you had that issue. Then you turn right back around, and we wound up having an issue with, they were trying to impeach Donald Trump. They were trying to impeach him. Then you had we go on, and then we had in March 2022 we had, you guys remember it was an active shooter in King Soopers grocery store in Boulder, Colorado. But before that, if we just go back, wait a minute, let's just go back. I done skipped over some here. Let's see here. Yeah, let's just go back. And one of the big issues was January 6, 2021, when it was this a breach of security where we had all of those folks rushing Capitol building in Washington, D.C., and just a massive riot. They were climbing up the building, and people got seriously injured. Government workers got seriously injured. Some were killed, doing that. And so right now we still have folks being charged with that. They're still in court and being sentenced or what have you. So that was another big thing, and that had the country like, wow. And not only that, you had the whole world stepping back looking at that. So then where we wind up at? Oh, and I'm just jumping around, y'all. So then you remember they wanted to have another shutdown due to the COVID, and this was in March 2021. It was a spike in the cases, and you had down there in Miami Beach where they had did a curfew, and the curfew was supposed to be from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. You know, the coronavirus, you know, the spiking in the cases or whatever, so they wanted to put a curfew on it down there, you know, and the folks weren't having that. You know, you had a lot of people down there for the spring break and everything, and then we had the container ship, which ran aground, and it ran into one of the barriers. This was March 23rd. This happened in the Suez Canal. Yeah. So then we had another issue. We had when a gentleman crashed into a barrier at Capitol Hill. That was in April of 2021. Remember that? That was like a Friday afternoon or something like that. That happened, and that made national news about that and everything. Like, so, like, all the things that were going on, people were really losing. A lot of people were just losing their mind. And if y'all can remember back, even when I was talking early on, you know, I was talking about like how so many things this pandemic was going to reveal, was revealing so much. You know, a lot of people were being were being put out there, man, and put right on the main stage, and you actually got to see what they were really about. We had police officers being brought up on charges and being prosecuted. You know, and some may say, you know, some feel like that was justice, and then some people feel like no, a lot of those officers should have got more time, and that's everyone's own personal opinion. You know what I'm saying? But still, we started seeing progress with that, with so many instances where cops were shooting civilians and claiming to be fearing for their lives, as the civilians they're shooting and killing had no weapons on them. You know, on top of so many things, we had to go back and remember, even before the pandemic actually kicked in, people were already protesting all around the country for what they were unhappy with, you know, in their state, their city, whatever the issues were. And what a lot of those protests had something to do with misuse of force with some of these police officers and these police departments, and then the way the police departments were handling it. So you remember before the pandemic actually kicked off, they were protesting. They were talking about defunding the police departments and everything like that. And so you had people around the country just like picking and choosing sides on that, you know, and not to say who was right on that idea or who was wrong, but you had people just trying to figure it out, you know, and it just, you know, just so much. So you had those protests, and then on top of the pandemic that just hit everybody from the side, like blindsided the whole country. You know, nobody knew anything, and not even just the country, the globe. You know, it was a pandemic. It's global, so a lot of folks got hit from the blind side, not even knowing nothing. So you're dealing with one thing and then get hit blindsided with something else that just really knocked you on your feet. Then people that were out of work, schools were shut down. You know, it was just mad chaos. So what else we got going on here? Oh, and let's not forget, remember the buildings collapsing in Miami. You know, people were asleep. Happened while folks were asleep. Building just collapsing. We lost a lot of people there in Miami. Remember that issue? That tragic issue there. Let's see here. It's just so much I'm going through the whole timeline here. Yeah, what's that there? Oh yeah. Then we had the Chem 2 chemical plant in Rockland, Illinois in June that blew up. You had that issue. Let's see here. Like I spoke about the police, we had ex-Minnesota police officer Derek Chauvin. He got convicted for for the death of George Floyd. He was convicted back in he was convicted this year. Then you had Bill Cosby come home, you know, inciting that he was wrongfully accused or whatever for the sexual assault charges. Man, it's just so much. Let's see here. Yeah, I just spoke about that one. And let's talk about even with Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York, you know, him being brought up on, you know, charges and accused of, sexual assault and things of that nature, and him resigning. I had my personal, what I thought about that whole situation, because, you know, I mean, me personally, when it came to that, I felt like something else was involved with that. You know, and then we hear that his brother, you know, the CNN spokesperson, whatever, he was fired just recently, about a month ago. So, yeah. Then we talk about the explosion, the car explosion, which a drone striked a family of 10. 6 of them was children. This was in Kabul, Afghanistan. This was back in August of 2021. You know, and that was a total, you know, they made a mistake right there, you know, because they thought that this gentleman was somebody he wasn't, you know, mistaken identity. They screwed up on that one right there. And then let's think about when Afghanistan citizens, you know, the United States have brought many of them are here in the country right now as we speak. And let's talk about those images that we were seeing back then in August of this year, 2021, and you know how people were just trying to hang on to the planes, you know, because they ran out of space on the planes, you know, that they were transporting the citizens that wanted to come to the States here. They ran out of seats, and they were shuttling planes back and forth to bring citizens from Afghanistan to the United States. But, you know, in between that, they were running out of seats, and you had the images where people were standing on top of the planes. People were holding on to the planes because they wanted to escape. They wanted to get out of their country because they feared that, you know, that their lives were in danger, and they just weren't. They knew that they weren't going to be safe there. And then we go on and we talk about Gabby Petito, and when her and her boyfriend went hiking in the mountains, and they were looking all over for her, and they found her, you know, dead as well. And then ultimately the boyfriend as well, supposedly. So, yeah, I mean, it's just so much that's going on, and then not only that, I was dealing with our own lives, but seeing these things month after month, week after week, on social media, on the internet, period, on your TV, you know what I mean? It was like you had to kind of like block out a lot of these things that were going on. So you got to imagine, like, for 2 years mentally, you know, people had to try to keep their head above the water, man, and really try to stay headstrong out of all what was going on, you know, because the country as a whole was getting rocked, you know. And then out of all of those issues going on, then you know, a lot of things that were not attention weren't being paid to were like the schools. So we had so many instances, and still to this moment, so many things going on with the schools. You had superintendents of the schools, the teachers, the teachers wanting to quit, the teachers protesting, right, for good reason, you know, for pay, and just not feeling like they're not getting their just and feeling like they're being just disrespected. And when they got every right, the teachers, the educators got every right to feel that way. It takes a lot to train the mind. I always said that. So, like, teachers were protesting for pay and different things, more benefits, and things of that nature. You had city workers and county workers around the country just protesting, especially when they found out about more money that the government, the pandemic, the COVID relief funds that have been issued to these states. So you had more state, county, and city workers and everything protesting because they're like, okay, now it's more money here. You guys got more money. We need to be compensated. We put in our safety and health on the line, and we're putting this out there, and we're putting our families in danger by being involved. We want to do our job and compensate us. We're out here during the pandemic. We're working, doing our job. But I mean, come on, show some respect. So you had those things going on, and again, the students were being. When we talk about the students in K through 12, they were the ones that suffered at and all of this, because they couldn't go to school for a while. They were doing remote learning, and then then when they get back to school, some kids that might have already was struggling before all of the pandemic and the remote learning, that just put them more behind. So then they get back in school and they're struggling more, and you having teacher shortages, and then some kids just probably not even being able to focus, period, during the pandemic. It might have, during the pandemic, their parents might have lost their jobs, or or hours may have been cut back. So it might have been stress in the household. So like these kids couldn't probably focus. It's like so much stuff was going on. And like I said, the kids were, when we talk about education from K through 12, and not only that, just period, we got superintendents and principals all around the country getting exposed. The school system is being exposed around the country. All types of issues. I've talked about them. You can go back into my archives and my videos and look. Y'all guys know if you've been following me. It's been issues going on and still down to the wire. You even got right now schools around the country, since we have the Omicron is spiking everything now. You have school systems right now from Maryland to to the Midwest. You got different schools that talking about districts trying to decide if they're going to go back to school. Are they going to go back at the top of 2022? They're trying to figure that out because of the spiking right now. So that's another thing. And so again, the students have been, especially if they already came from a struggling school district before the pandemic and before all this, now it's really bad, And so now going forward, only thing I can say is that, hey, keep an eye on your local governments. Pay attention to the paper trails. Pay attention to what's going on. These folks, has been a lot of money passed down for education during this pandemic. The COVID relief funds on education, all around the country. Don't let them fool you. When you heard about the funding for education, the government passed down money. If you just tap in whatever city and state you in, Google, the funds for education from the government for this year alone. Just Google and see what comes up. A lot of issues, and you got so many issues that have been going on this year. Then they wanted to make the parents out to be bad guys because the parents were stepping in and going to school board meetings and voicing their opinion. And they try to run this narrative about how like parents are coming in like bullies and coming in like thugs and because they're stepping up for their children as we should. They're stepping in front of their children as they should. Children don't know what's going on. All they know, they come to school. They don't understand. They don't know that they might not like their school lunch and don't even know, they don't really know the deal behind their school lunch, or the meal program, period. And as a parent, the meal program, the food that they're serving, the nutrition, it sucks. You speaking out on that. You speaking out on what your child is, how they're teaching your child. You speaking out on all the issues of the resources that are in the school. So they try to make it out like as if that the parent is the bad guy. But so many parents around the country, we had the critical race theory, the CRT. Parents were really voicing their opinion about that, and you can't say what parent was right or wrong about it. If they didn't like it, they don't like it, and rightfully so. When you had really more parents that you were hearing, the sentiment was they did not like it. They did not like it. So whatever your idea of the critical race theory, whether it was teaching racism or if it was trying to, whatever it was manipulating the child's mind. So whatever your thought, whether you like it or not, it should not have been presented in the school system, period. If you want to present something in the school system, present what is needed today. Banking, talk about entrepreneurship, preach more about engineering. Let's talk about those things. Let's teach these kids about the internet and marketing and all of that things. Let's meet these kids where they stand. If we're gonna talk about something, let's talk about really what these kids need to be learning. Some real what we're seeing today. The old traditional way of education is out of here. We're in a new day in a new world, and if nothing else has showed us that is the pandemic. This COVID has showed that we're in a new time. Things, the way things were ran, business, everything, the way we've done business will not be the same again. And every time a national or world, or I'm gonna just say a national crisis happens, we see things change, just like with the 9/11. We seen the world change. And that's another thing when it comes to pandemic. It allowed us to sit down and pay attention, because I think when 9/11 hit, the world, we were still so people were still going. Some of the country did not, if you didn't have no one that physically worked in New York at that time, or in the tri-state area, at that time, seeing some of the images, your mouth probably dropped. Wherever you were, wherever other part of the country you were in, you seeing that, your mouth dropped, like, what in the world? But you really didn't know how it really was. So people were still going about, I can attest to that, because I left the North at that time and moved south 2 weeks after 9/11. So I've seen traveling across the Southeast, I seen from the Northeast coming to the Southeast, I seen when I got across when I crossed into Virginia, I felt like some weight relieved off my shoulder. I felt a calm come over, because it was so tense in the North. It was so tense. I mean, it was the intensity level was high. So when I crossed over into Virginia, I felt, I seen the flags flowing. I seen, people showing, voicing their concerns and whatever it was, and whatever scripture written or whatever was written on walls and with flags hanging. I seen that, so people were showing, displaying their feelings. But it was different, and so I think what I'm saying is like people were still going, like, you know, when the pandemic happened, it actually made people stop. Nobody, when they said you had to quarantine and people, if you want to essential, the first time you heard of an essential worker, the first time you ever heard that used, the government let you know, essential and non-essential. So if you were a non-essential worker, meaning you weren't needed, you had to sit home, and that rocked your pockets, that changed your household, until the government had to put it together, everything together financially, and how they were going to help those folks who were impacted the most, you know. But so that's the thing that got people to sit down, and then you actually had no choice but to pay attention to what was going on around you. You couldn't even escape it. It was all on the news. It was all on the TV. You even seen like your programming, certain shows you might have liked to watch. There were if it was a new season supposed to start, no, it wasn't. You were watching reruns, so then your life. It affected it affected a lot of things in your life, and I think that's what got people to really sit down. And then a lot of people start freaking out, just losing it, you know, around the globe. So there you read about different situations that might have took place in your own city and state, you know, that might have not made national news, but you heard, but you know, it was on your local news, and you know, and then you start seeing government officials being exposed, school officials being exposed, the school systems being exposed, people jumping ship for whatever reason. You got people showing their true colors, you know, and I've said it early on about when I talked about the pandemic. I said this thing is going to reveal a whole lot. You're going to see who's really doing what. You know, you're seeing a lot of local officials get quiet these past years. These past 2 years, we've seen a lot of people that were talking stop talking. You know, a lot of people that were talking so much before this pandemic, you know, before 2020 hit, a lot of people was talking. You stopped seeing them. They just quietly snuck out the back door. You know what I mean? So, you know, you see who was really what, you know, and who's really here to motivate and talk to the people and give them some, you know, and help you focus. So yeah, and it was just a matter of time, and it was something that the pandemic had to do. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much my time. I just wanted to go down and do a year in review. There's been some things happening to my page. You might not see me posting. I've been noticing my numbers are being manipulated and things of that nature. Like, my last video I done with Johnson & Johnson, I had a dispute with YouTube with that because they thought I was speaking, like trying to manipulate people about COVID, and it had nothing to do with that. So I had to 24-hour fight with them for that, and then they released that video because I put it out and then they had it on hold, you know. So then some of you probably noticed you might couldn't see it after a while or something. Then I put out another video where I talked about the Kimberly Potter. Actually, that video I had did the morning before she got before she was found guilty. When I did it, it was in the morning. She got found guilty that evening, you know, for charges against Dante Wright. They had that video on freeze for like a week or so. So, you know, and it just got released, so you seeing that now. So I expected all of this type of stuff. You know, I done put out over 120 some videos in this past year long right here, and I've been talking nothing but positive. I never try to manipulate the people's mind. I never try to, I never disrespected anybody on my page, yelling and just yelling absurd things and screaming and cussing. I never done any of that. I've just tried to talk knowledge, and I also, every time I spoke and every time I present a subject topic to you guys, I make sure that I you can fact check me. I let you know where I get it from. I'm not stealing anybody else's literature or photos. If I have any photos, I make sure that the person who took that photo has the credit. I show you who and what publication it came from as well. Like I speak about this New York Post, and when I'm talking about the year-end wrap-up, I got it from the New York Post. The images as well from the New York Post. I didn't take them, but they're there, and I do that because I'm like, hey, not everybody watches or checks in for the New York Post, but I wanted to talk about the year-end wrap-up, and me seeing the New York Post do it, I was like, oh, that make it easier for me, because a lot of the things when I went through their 50 top issues, I forgot about most of them. Like, oh, wow, I forgot about that issue. So, I was like, okay, great. That makes it easy for me. So now I could just run off from the New York Post. It's a subject I wanted to talk on. They happen to have some footage and some literature on it. So, hey, it worked out. But I noticed that if you talk anything about anything positive, they try to blur you out. They try to dim your light. I was already expecting all of that, and I'm just thankful now, because I'm like, okay, well, I'm talking about something. If you're starting to freeze up my videos and hold up my videos, and now to let me know that you're really manipulating my numbers, and my numbers are really higher than what you're saying, because certain things they don't want you to say. But I'm going to keep talking, because I'm not yelling out conspiracy theories. I'm giving you actual facts, and I'm making sense of what we're seeing and whatever I'm presenting to you guys. And I'm going to keep doing that, because I'm an adult. I'm not a child. I can't chase around. That's why I only talk about local, national, and world news. I don't talk about entertainment. I'm too grown. I don't have time to talk about those issues. I don't have time to talk about what the entertainers are doing. No disrespect to them. But when the pandemic happened, the entertainers weren't doing anything. They were sitting at home, just like most people were forced to have to do. So it wasn't nothing there to talk about on that. So let's just be clear. So that's why I talked about what affects us, what we see. Some issues may go over my head, and they may not go over my head. It's just so much that go on, so I have to grab what I can and present it, at the time, and I don't have time to jump on every day, every minute, dropping. Nah, I come once a week, either Thursdays or Fridays, and I'll present videos to you. I want to say thank you to all the subscribers, new and my old subscribers. I thank you. Make sure y'all continue to keep sharing the videos. Don't just hold it for yourself. Sharing with your friends, family, or whatever topics I'm talking about. Because I talk about the issues that you may talk about with your family and friends, or your associates, and I know that those issues, that I'm not alone in them, and like I said, I know they manipulate my numbers here at YouTube, and it's been made clear to me over the past 2 weeks now, and I'm not angry. Hey, at the end of the day, I'm posting my footage, my videos on their platform, so hey. But as long as you guys know that I'm going to always continue to keep bringing you the real, with no extra sauce on it, none of that gimmicks, just straight up what it is. What this is for, to share information. Each one teach one. That's what it's about. So that's my time. Peace and blessings to all y'all. Once again, it's December the 31st, 2021. We closing out this year, going into 2022. I just pray and hope that you all stay well, safe, keep your head above the water, and whatever your plans are, whatever your plans was in 2021 and you working towards them, Don't stop in 2022. Keep going, keep elevating. And that's my time. You got Rashawn, the Space Invaders TV. See y'all on the other side.